So we may get folks coming in from time to time, but you were at our last meeting,
Yeah.
you were not. Do you have any questions that we should cover so you don't have to listen to me talk for 25 minutes?
Well, my biggest gripe is the work on Waterville Street
Yeah.
right now. And I just think how very, very poorly it was handled.
Yeah,
You put the messages in the mailbox, but we weren't getting any mail, so no one was going out there, so it didn't come till Saturday morning, which was really ugly.
yeah.
You know, how
You know it wasn't us though, right?
But I mean, how can you let the contractor know that he can start 3 weeks early, but not do anything about the people that live in town? You know, and every day, whatever time I leave to go out of my house and come back, I gotta stop and tell a stupid cop that I'm going home. You know, can't you have some kind of a sticker you can put on your car or something, or other say, yes, I live on this street, that I don't have to keep putting up with this nonsense back and forth? And then
I
the
don't
guy
know.
in town workers, I had a water company truck park in front of my driveway.
Yeah.
I had another one, a police department park in front of my driveway. I mean, I'm supposed to have the right to go in and out of my driveway. I shouldn't have to sit there and say, could you move your car so I can get in and out of my driveway? You know, I'm not gonna drive over my grass, you know,
Did they move the car for you?
eventually,
Okay, that's good.
eventually. But they also park in front of the mail, which I don't think the mail's even bothering to deliver. They didn't deliver it all last week until Saturday. This
The
week was,
mail didn't get delivered?
nope, not till Saturday morning.
Did you have a lot of mail on Saturday? Would it have
Yeah.
accumulated? I don't know why they would not deliver mail.
You know, and then same thing, like it didn't come today. You know, sometimes they go down and they go as far as the school and then they turn around and go back. Yesterday, they came at 5 o'clock at night and delivered. But for the most part, they don't knock themselves out delivering mail either.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, it's gonna be rough for a couple of weeks. I'm hoping it's gonna end soon.
yeah, well, I talked to the guys this morning and they said that they're ahead of schedule.
That's
You
good.
know, so that's a good, and they're further up the street, but, you know, I think that, you know, I mean, it's not that long a street. There's not that many houses on that street. Why did it be such a disaster? You know, why people couldn't have been notified ahead of time? Like I say, come out with a piece of paper, get an orange piece of paper or something, give it to the people that live there, put it on your dashboard, and say, I don't have to keep
After we talked
stopping.
that Monday after the holiday, I got an email from National Grid telling me they did go door to door.
No, I
Because
had
I-
one guy come to my house one day and told me that we're digging the trench in front of your house, so if you wanna get out to go to work, move your car out of your driveway now or you're not gonna get.
Okay,
That's the only contact I've had with anybody.
Okay.
I approached them on the first day and said, what the heck's going on here?
so when did you get the flyer in the mailbox?
Saturday morning.
And that was mailed to you?
No,
Or
somebody
just-
just placed it in the
It was in
mailbox.
But you
Which
didn't,
isn't legal.
but you didn't check it because you didn't get mail, so you might have gotten it earlier.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Well, we asked them, we told them, we want you to get signs up and let people know it's coming. And if they didn't do it, I can only apologize for them,
Yeah,
because I wanted them to do that, because it was important that people knew. I mean, we try to announce it at meetings, but we don't know.
well,
what
I
their
just say, you
schedule's gonna
talk
be.
about social media, well, not everybody's on social media.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
I
right.
can't be bothered with social media, so,
Yeah.
you know, like I say, it's a short street. There's not that many houses on the street. I don't see why you
Right.
couldn't have done a little bit more to, you know, accommodate the people that lived on the road,
Yeah, I agree.
you know?
We asked them to, but we're not gonna take that on ourselves, because it's their project. And then the chief works out the details of how the traffic flow is gonna be, and what he wants to see happen in terms of flow. So, it was on them to do it. I can't make an excuse for them or for us, but if I don't know they're not doing it till you tell me, that's when I sent the email to the grid to say, hey, you gotta tell these people what's going on, and then that prompted them to do the mailer, or at least do the insert in the mailbox. So, I wish it was better, but I can't do anything except apologize for it
Yeah,
at this point, because it's too late.
yeah. You know, like I say, you know, it's just really irritates everybody
Yeah.
that lives on the street, and I say especially too, you put a cop on the end of the street, and then every time you gotta stop and tell the cop where you're going. In fact, you know, they got them right at the school street, because of course they're going down to school. Well, then I gotta turn around and say, well, I live right there, can you move the cone so I can get to my house? You know, and this is every day, however many times of the day you leave the house,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I'm trying to come back. Leaving should be easy.
Well, yeah, coming back.
Yeah.
Well, even leaving, because they've got the cones all the way across so the school people don't go any further, so I have to have them move a cone so I can get my car out of my house, out of my driveway. So it's aggravating.
No, it sounds frustrating. I'd probably be frustrated too. But I don't know what the solution is. I don't know. Chief, do you have any solutions if you're listening to this?
Yeah, no, was it the same cop every day when you come in? It's always the same police officer?
Not always, not always.
Yeah, so, and the problem is, if you don't leave the cones there, people will drive through. They've already had that happen.
Yeah,
That's why we have to have so many police officers there. It's not their choice, it's we told them, that's what you need. So, you know, maybe something we can come up with, like you said, some kind of a ban, but there's still gonna be the cones there. You're gonna have to wait to have them moved. So, you know, unfortunately, that's the way it happens. They were supposed to be going door to door, because they told me, they were going door to door to talk to people, not just shoving something in the mailbox, because they're not supposed to do that.
yeah,
And, but as far as the cones go, they have to go across. Otherwise, as a matter of fact, I wouldn't doubt if people would drive over the cones. I mean, they drive right by the detail officer coming in from the other side. We've had several car stops. So people want to get where they want to get, and they want to go to the easiest route. They don't care, you know, if later on they're going to fall in the ditch.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, right now, I mean, this should be done, I will say, in the next week or so in your area, because they're moving right up,
yeah.
you know, right up the street all the way to Goodwood, so it's going to be a long project. But, you know, nothing we can do about the cone thing. Even if you had an orange, you know, sticky major plaque or something to put in your car, you're gonna have to wait. It's until the cop can get over, but that's where they usually.
Yeah, but I mean, that's only at my end by the school. I mean, up at the top of the street where Waterville Street hits North Main Street,
Yeah.
there's no cones that they have to move, but I have to stop every time I go by
Well,
there.
because where you are is the work zone.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And that'll move up, you know, as.
Oh, yeah, but
progresses.
the street will be still blocked off until they get to the other
Yeah,
end
but
of
the
Waterville
cones-
Street.
The cones will be moved up too, and, you know.
Yeah, but they'll
so-
still be stopping people at the end of the
And
street.
that's the only way we can do it, 'cause like.
That's why I say, if you came up with some kind of a system that the people that lived in the neighborhood, and when they leave in the morning, they know where the construction is, they know what way they gotta go to get home.
But the cones will still be there, you know, and they'll have detours. That's why we have officers on both sides. You don't have to guess. You just ask the officer, and that's it. In your case, you go through, they let you through, and then you just, when you come in.
But what I'm saying is I shouldn't have to stop every time I go out of the house.
Well,
I live there. I
Yeah.
should be offered some kind of a convenience to go home without having to stop at the police station, police officer every time I go out of my
You know,
house.
You just tell them, I live down the street, and they let you go. Do they argue with you?
No, but I shouldn't even have to do that stop.
Well, unfortunately, they have to make sure people that are going down there, because we have people that say, oh, I just want to go on the other side, and I was like, where are you going? And it's happened to me, I've worked out in fire scenes or this or that. Well, let's see, I'm on, this happened on Worcester Street a couple of times. And, well, I'm just going down the road. Where are you going to? I'm going to Upton. Okay, then you're not just going down the road, you know, and we have to turn around. That's what we deal with people that are just impatient and stuff. Unfortunately, we're caught in the mix.
Yeah,
You know, so right now, you just have to be patient with that, because they have to keep the cones going across the road, and they have to make sure that people that have, because you're gonna get stopped, but once they go into the traffic area, in that construction zone, with the, you know, some of the trenches that they're gonna have are pretty wide, pretty deep, and if you drive through, and there's nobody to stop you inside that area for some reason, you know, it could be a problem. Your car could go into a ditch or whatever, we don't want that to happen. Or you could be hit by equipment, you know, somebody's backing up because they're back and forth all the time with that. So it's just safety that we're trying to ensure over there.
yeah,
It's not the greatest situation, that's not the greatest road to work on.
no.
I kind of told them I would like one side of the road to be open, the way they're working the trench.
Yeah, they're on all sides of the road, they're all
Yeah,
over the place.
yeah, exactly, so it's a big inconvenience, and I'm hoping they're gonna move. They said with the two crews working, that it shouldn't take long, so I'm hoping within a week, by the end of next week, you know, if you can put up with it. And like I said, we really don't have a choice, but especially with the cones area, where you're gonna have to wait for them to move. But that's, like I said, why we have a second officer there. You know, there's two officers for traffic at Waterville and North Main. The plan wasn't to do that at first, but they're moving the traffic along as quickly as they can, which makes it convenient. You know, they've done some other things that they posted, which I had them correct and had the officers there correct, like having teachers and buses coming down East Street, the Prospect and all that, and there's no reason for that. So
Yeah.
we're learning on this here. We don't usually get this type of a road job often, and unfortunately, that's one of the busiest streets in town, as you're aware, between
Yeah.
the rail, Tufts, getting out, onto Route 30 and out, so it's work in progress, and I think we're getting better at it.
Are they doing, not to change the subject, but are they doing anything about controlling the stoplights up there, the three of them going all the way up to,
Well, I don't
Yes,
think they-
the railroad has a grant to do gates, and that.
no, I don't mean that, I mean the stops, the red lights, Waterville Street, Bridge Street.
Yeah, they're all gonna be synchronized with preemptive devices, so it's probably 2 years away at best, but they're synchronized now on a timer, electromechanical, and they all talk. Sometimes the clock goes out depending on weather, so the state has to come out and reset. We own one and the state owns two, or we own two and the state owns one, so coordinating that with the state has been a
Yeah,
task.
because it's pretty horrendous, because people get so sick of having to sit there, wait so daggone long for the lights to change it 9 times. If you actually sat there, you would be amazed how many people go
I've
through the
watched-
red lights.
I've watched it, and unfortunately, what happens 8 out of 10 times is those loop detectors that you can barely see in the ground, their time to, when you roll up on them in a certain window of time, when it's green or red, whether north or south, you have to hit them during those windows. So if somebody's sending a text and they don't roll forward, that light turns yellow and yields that time back to the north and south traffic. So it's tough to explain that to somebody, but they think, I'm sitting here, he's not the guy behind me's not texting, but I am, and I never roll up, and I lose that balance. And then I wait for a whole other cycle until I roll up and hit that loop detector. And then God forbid I go by it, and the guy behind me doesn't roll up, then it keeps backing up because it never yields back that time. So that's one of the things, when the railroad puts in its gates, it'll solve that problem for the whole sequence of lights. But anyway, no matter how you do it, that whole intersection is just wacky.
Yeah, it's
Because they're
awful.
so close together.
Yeah,
But there's no good solution except for synchronizing them with preemptive device for public safety vehicles. So either a tone or a flashlight will get them to all go green for them and red for everybody else. And putting those gates down, because I know that the horns blow and people are mad about the horns, so it should alleviate that. Not that we can control the horns, but it's supposed to alleviate the horn usage. They have them in the center with the gates, but they still blow the horns, and I hear them at my house, and it's like, I live pretty far away.
yeah. Actually, I have a few neighbors that are talking about moving out because they're so sick of listening to the horns.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, nobody expected it to restart, right, for the railroad. You thought it was
Yeah.
abandoned or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's not, it's a working railroad. So, yeah, and I never understood the blast they do, because it's supposed to be too short or one long, too short, and they just seem to
Yeah.
hang on that rope for as long as they can.
Yeah,
And I don't know, seems like a waste of energy.
They like the sound of their horn.
yeah. I think
But
that's mostly it.
we are trying to solve that problem. But we thought about signage to get people to roll up. We also thought of whiting out the area between the loop detector and the stop bar and the railroad tracks. There's a space there with a light. You have the light when you're going on Route 30 towards 140. People get stuck in the middle there.
Yeah,
And the light's red, and no one can go north or south because they're stuck in the middle. Right? As like a cautionary, don't block intersection, it's not really an intersection. So we're trying to figure out the best solution for
but
that.
also, they also get there because they don't want to stop at the red light, so they jump the light
Yeah,
to get up
yeah.
further, so they can
And then they
get
just
out.
cause the havoc going north or south.
Yeah,
So that's when the police come in and write tickets.
yeah. Don't see too many police down there doing too much of anything at that intersection, except
Well,
for
that's
now.
good, that's good to hear. We need to hear that, so we can get on that. All right, other issues that folks have besides town meetings coming up and the elections coming up? Is there anything people want to talk about that's,
Actually, just to
No?
jump back to that
Sure.
subject, I was just curious, how often does a train run on that track?
I don't know, a lot.
As often as it wants.
Yeah, there's no local control over the
Okay,
movement of
so
the train.
it's not like a set schedule, like
No.
every night at 11:30?
No, there's a certain one, but during the day, I think they pretty much run whenever they want. I think the last one goes almost at 9 o'clock, and the first one starts sometime around 6.
Yeah, they could have, CSX can come in from the MBTA line and bring something in, and if they think it has to get to Upton at a certain time, they'll roll it up through the center of town at any time. So, but we've tried to fight that fight, but we can't regulate it
No,
anyway.
in fact, even in the morning when I go to work, they'll bring a train through, mess up all the traffic all the way up, to turn around and back up to go on another rail, because they put so many rail lines in over there that they
Oh,
back up.
cars, the
Yeah.
length of the car.
Yeah, so they back up to park it someplace else,
Mm.
so ties up all the traffic, 2 or 3 lights worth.
Yeah. And then they try to, they idle the train a lot because it's diesel, and when it gets cold, they let it run, and, you know, the neighborhood just goes crazy about it. They call us a lot. They call the EPA, because you're not supposed to idle trains, and we try to get people out, but at the end of the day, they're building a house that'll have will it hold 2 locomotives, Chief? I don't know if you know that.
I believe it's 2, yeah.
Yeah, so they'll keep them warm and they won't have to run, so at least we can alleviate the running and the noise. of the
Yeah,
running
because you do hear
train.
that in the morning.
Yeah, especially when it's cold, they stop
Yeah.
up at, midnight, 11 o'clock, and they just let them run all night. It doesn't seem cost efficient, but I guess if you couldn't start them the next day, that'd be even worse. So the warrant, we're gonna do a program tomorrow on local cable, so we're gonna break it up almost like a table of contents. So if you just wanted to watch something about Article 6, you can just click Article 6 and just hear us talk about 6. That way, it'll be a little bit easier for folks. You don't have to watch the whole thing or scroll through to make it a little simpler. Last meeting we had Thursday, we talked about economic development stuff. Most of you were here. I'm Tim, by the way.
I'm Deborah.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
This is my son Benjamin. He wanted to stay here because,
Okay.
I want to be on TV,
yeah, I think he wants to be a TV.
and I want a job.
You want a job?
How old are you?
No, 9.
You're not.
He's 9. So, again, we've done this, this is our 3rd time out. Do you want me to walk you through the articles? Does anybody want detail on the articles for town meeting? That was the purpose of it, or the budget, or anything else that's of interest? We didn't have an agenda planned. We just figured it's a small enough group, you can ask questions and we can try to provide insight.
And you've got all the groupies here who've been in all the other meetings.
No, but it was gonna be, if I knew you were gonna be loyalists, and I knew you were gonna be in small numbers, I would've brought ice cream.
One of the, I think a good one is to look at that's a little bit different is one of the articles that has all the revolving accounts that we have to set up. I think that's a good one to explain. I know there's a lot of technicalities behind that. I'm just thinking maybe that might be a good one to maybe explain.
Yeah, well, we got 2 for the school, right? That Jay sent to me, that have to be set at special town meeting. So those will establish them. Where are they? So 6 and 7, the rental revolving fund, so you guys rent school space, and that money will go directly into the revolving account if it's voted. I don't know what those numbers are in terms of the revenue for you guys. Do you have any idea what that is?
It kind of varies, so we don't know, but I think just in general, like why people might ask, like, why are we setting up this account? Like, what's that for? It is for when we receive money, when people rent our buildings for like Netflix movies or something like that. Apparently, it's got some charm to it that the film crews really like. And they've rented out a couple of our buildings over the past year.
Did they, Netflix, I don't know, did you guys get a fee from that?
I have no idea.
Oh, because when the Mass Film Office called me, the one that they did over the summer is a Netflix, like Peter said, it's gonna be called Hellman's, and it's a cross between Lord of the Flies and Under the Dome. And so these kids go, I hope I don't ruin this for Netflix.
I haven't seen any promotion for this at all.
No, it'll be out, where are we, 19, I think in the winter, December of 19.
Okay.
So they,
So we'll put this section of the session on YouTube for the world to see.
yeah, we'll cut and paste this. But, there were some famous people in there. Tony, I connected Tony with the Mass Film Office and, huh? You can ask a question, what are you gonna say? All right. So they were at Millbury Street School, they were at the high school. I went there on a November night and they had actually had all these cranes and lights set up and they changed the light board, what do you call that? Scoreboard,
Scoreboard.
to be the name of the school. So the theme is they go on, to the Museum of Science or something in the bus and they go on a field trip, they come back and there's no adults. They've all been abducted or whatever's happened to the adults. So these kids have to figure out how to get life done without any adult supervision.
Every kid's dream.
I don't know, we'll see. Peter Pan,
I think
maybe.
it'll prove not to be the kids' dream.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't go down the Lord of the Flies route.
So I don't know, I don't know what that movie might yield back, but if they did pay, certainly they paid for custodial time,
Yeah.
things like that.
They should have paid good money for that, quite a bit for a location.
So the building it's unique with its rental fee structure, and there's a policy that's set for that. I think this one might have been a little bit more special circumstance because it involved, it was very tight-lipped. So it involved a lot of additional funds that needed to offset, like they had to use power and all that sort of thing for cooling during the summertime because they had to keep the actors cool. And it had to be like in the fall because this was done in the middle of July and August. So you can imagine being in one of those buildings with the AC, about how brutal that would be. But, you know, one of the things that we were told is that the Department of Revenue of Massachusetts says you have to set up these specific revolving accounts, like Mr. McInerney had mentioned, that to track those costs. I thought this was one of those, you know, it's a good idea to explain that, I think, to the public, to just kind of understand, like, for full transparency, like, what are these for and what the purpose is for them.
So do you want to, can you talk to the Extended Services Revolving Fund? Because I don't know much about it at all.
I'm not quite, I can't get into the details. I wish Dan Gale was here. He's our finance manager, and so he knows all the technical aspects of this. But any of these revolving accounts that are for schools, these accounts are designed for any types of fees that come into the school district that people pay, whether it be, like, for example, parking and busing fees. Like, there's a revolving account set up for that. Similar to the recreation department, they've got a revolving account for people who participate in those programs, and they write checks and they cash and deposit in those accounts. So the Department of Revenue, for these specific programs, for that services, says you need to set up a separate account. You can't just use a general revolving account, so it has to be specific to the use case. And it's just to show, again, that they're always trying to be, how do you become more transparent with the accounting of public funds?
So these are in the special because they can start to take these funds in and start to expend them as soon as this gets passed. And then they're reauthorized in the annual, whatever article number that is. Is that 8?
Number 9.
Number 9. So these same two are in there in a formatted list that reauthorizes starting July 1. And the state requires that we do that. And there's a lot on that list. You know, we had one Grafton Common for a long time that we had to rent for, so we had an account for that. South Grafton Community House, Council on Aging, Board of Health, they'll take money in for flu and vaccinations. So the money that we get from the state is a revolving account to continue giving those vaccinations. So that's what that, all of Article 9 will do. So those are, they're separate fund sources and kept in a separate revolving account for those purposes that are specified in the article. So that's the best summary I can give of it.
Is that rental one from the special town meeting also about for the solar panels they're putting on the high school?
That's it.
That's
I
what?
think that's part of it too. That's a good
Okay.
call. Good call, good memory. Yeah.
Oh, on the middle school, Millway Street School for the solar
Yes.
panels.
I thought it
No,
was high
I
school.
think it's for the high school. It's for any of the solar panels that we put on our schools. So when we receive the money, the funds back from the power generation, that has to go to some revolving account.
All
I
right.
believe that's, thank you.
You're welcome.
Justin.
Yeah, they did do a study on Millbury Street too because of the east alignment for that roof. So I don't know if they are gonna go there. The same group who did ours, we put with Dan to make sure that they,
So there's some details on that, which is not related to the town meeting, but to that point, we are looking, the school district, I should say, not we, the school district is looking to put solar panels on that huge part of that roof. And it's wonderful because it's got a lot of horizon that the sun can really generate a lot of power. Fortunately, National Grid's infrastructure cannot support any additional electrical generation on their lines until they make some massive upgrades within their substations, and they won't be doing that for another couple of years, unfortunately. So, it's like, darn. But there is a plan in place, and they've got some financial figures, and they look at what the generation would do to help offset the total energy consumption of the building.
It's great.
Yeah,
It's too bad they're just not ready.
Yes.
I know. I mean, if it's just as simple as getting my extension cord and plugging it in, I would have done that by now. So,
Well, that's probably gonna be more construction, but this time on Millbury Street.
yeah,
Yay.
right.
National Grid's been upgrading a number of distribution lines in the town to accommodate solar farms at various places.
Millbury Street is above ground wiring, though, right?
Yes,
Okay.
it's aerial.
Well, to the building, along the road, it's aerial, but to get power to the building. I don't
Yeah,
think
it's
there's any
subterranean,
lines.
but the plant, the full physical plant coming into the point of demarc where they go underground is all aerial. Yeah.
So that's, those are I mean, that's the revolving accounts in a nutshell. There's a couple, you know, there's a medical, not a medical, but a recreational use for marijuana proposal by a citizen's petition for an added use within the village mixed use area in South Grafton for the Depot Street Mill site, pretty much. So that, you guys had nobody at planning board, I heard, to talk about it one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Bob Hebe was at the planning board, you know, the planning board had a public hearing on that citizens petition zoning article this past Monday evening, and we had little, if any, public comment other than the presentation. I want to say one member of the public had a question or two.
That was me.
Yeah.
I just questioned if they were also gonna be manufacturing edibles, and other than that, I said,
Yeah,
I
but that
thought it was a
really
fabulous idea.
Yes.
How did he answer that? Are they gonna do edibles?
No, it seems like it's just a grow facility.
Yeah, to
So they'll ship that out to be
Yeah,
edibles
Yeah.
at some point?
He's basically growing and harvesting and then shipping it off to other places for, you know, further manufacture, processing, and consumption. He's not proposing any retail at that site.
Yeah, good.
What's the deal with the smell? I hear people talking about that there's gonna be a smell, and I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess perhaps, you know, some aspects of marijuana cultivation maybe produce odors, but he mentioned that the whole fourth floor is going to be a lot of air handling and filtration equipment.
Yeah.
And everything is going out the existing stack, and he said that with the filtration equipment there, and this is basically, they're required by the state to do this. So you could sit right up at the stack and breathe the air with, and you wouldn't smell anything.
Excellent. So it's just Somerville that has a problem, apparently.
Yeah, they need charcoal filters is what they need, I guess. There's a couple other zoning things that are good and important that need to pass in order for his to be relevant. If yours don't pass and his passes, his is.
Well, no, his
right?
is independent of everything else that we're doing.
Okay.
I mean,
Joe intimated to me a little different scenario, but
yeah,
he thought there was some interconnect between the two.
but I don't think there really is a connection. I mean, well, there is in a sense, because one of the things we're doing for zoning is we're basically re-implementing the village mixed use zone. We've sort of we're replacing the existing village mixed use zoning language, section 12 of the zoning bylaw. We basically updated that whole section. Not really changing much of anything with respect to the existing South Grafton Village Mixed Use District, other than renaming it, new regulations, but the district is largely, things are largely equivalent. But we're doing that so that we can create additional mixed-use zones, and we're proposing one of the other warrant articles, so there's one warrant article that basically replaces the existing village mixed-use zone with basically a new set of rules, but really things are basically the same. Separate from that, we're proposing to put a new village mixed-use zone, a mixed-use zone up in North Grafton, the Bolac Plaza, which right now, the way it's zoned is pretty much worthless.
It's half split between.
Yeah, it's half split. What you could do now, what you could do there now, if you tore everything down, is on the front half of the lot, you could put a small small retail, like a little shopping center. On the back half of the lot, you could create exactly 2 single-family homes. And we worked for a couple, 3 years with some consultants in the neighborhood there to come up with a mixed-use zoning for that area, which would allow something much more like what's there now, but much more modern, a mix of multifamily, residential, small business, possibility of business on the first floor and residence on the second floor. So some more of a mixed-use concept, which it kind of used to be that way many years ago in the mill villages, and we're sort of seeing a need to bring that back. So that's for the Bolac Plaza. I think we're calling it the Worcester Street neighborhood, or I forget what the name of it is.
Yeah.
And there's a potential for expanding that zone to cover more area if this works out for the redevelopment of Moai Plaza. You know, the concept could be quite easily extended to some of the surrounding areas as well. And then out on Route 30 by Institute Road, we're proposing to create yet another mixed-use district to kind of go along with the transit, I forget what we call it now.
Transit.
The North Grafton
Yeah.
Transit Village.
Yep.
That's a 40-yard development over by Pine Street, the old state hospital. And so there's another opportunity. There again is another big parcel, which is commercial on the front, residential in the back. And we have an approved subdivision in the back side of it, but yeah, he's been sitting on the commercial hoping for similar sort of mixed-use development idea there. So that's those things I call them, they tie together. Bob Heavy's citizens petition relates to that in that it's within the South Grafton Village mixed use, but his petition would work whether we make the other changes or not.
Okay,
So
that's good.
There's a connection there, but there's no dependency one on the other. The only other thing we're doing with marijuana for zoning is offering town meeting the opportunity to allow marijuana retailing in the community business zones, which was voted on February last year and came just a very few votes shy of the 2/3 required. So there seemed to be, again, Joe can speak to this too, that some of the opportunities, locations that are potentially suitable for a marijuana retailer are in that community business zone where they're currently not allowed. So since it was fairly favorable last time around, I thought it was worthwhile to give voters another chance to think about that one.
Yeah, retail sales is very limited anyways with the tie to the liquor license too, so.
Joe's been relating to us on the board every so often that there's just not a lot of available space for small retailers, or even like we lost a restaurant because there just wasn't any suitable space in town.
So one of the parcels, I don't know if it's on one of these maps or not. Yeah, see where if you look at the science park, see where the 30 is? That's the land pretty much where Alfonso has, the mixed use will be up front, and then where the picture of Tufts is certainly isn't the land, but the back of that is Institute Road, and that's where his subdivision will go. But the front of it on Route 30 will be the mixed use component, which will have rental, housing, and commercial space. So that whole area, the upgrade for the electricity and the sewer line, all the infrastructure that's going up Route 30 is setting the stage to have that corridor be, a village within a community, from Pine Street to the MBTA station to UPS to Tufts, Syntec, and then Institute. So it's not one thing that's going to work up there. It needs all those things to really make it flourish.
Is the MBA planning to expand the parking lot?
MBTA, no, they have no plans of expanding parking right now. They have talked to us, but there's no land in which them to expand. There's one parcel behind the MBTA station that's still owned by WBDC, which is down the bottom where the bottom yellow star is. It's kind of slopey, a lot of ledge. I would rather have businesses there. They don't do raised parking in MBTA anymore because it's too expensive. So right now there's none.
But they could raise the fee so that people stop driving to Grafton to park here, because that's why there's no parking.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
it's cheaper to park in Grafton and ride from Grafton than it is to ride in and Port
Now, if we could just
Westboro.
go back 25 years, we can get Millbury to accept the MBTA station there. One of the things that happened was when they expanded the service from Framingham out to Worcester, that they had proposed stations, obviously Union Station at Worcester, but they had proposed a location in Millbury, Grafton, Westboro, Southboro, and Ashland. Millbury objected so strenuously that they just dropped that one.
Wow, really?
Funny thing, of the other 4 towns, Grafton was the only one that had no problem.
Now we do.
Well,
Well,
yes, and I know we talked some about the parking, but it was 25 years ago we did this, and I don't think they did projections that far out.
well, I'm serious about the parking situation though, because That's
Yeah.
become a big problem very recently because of the fee changes. Because I know people that come from Westboro, they drive the extra, because it's that much cheaper. When you do it every single day, it adds up.
Yep.
We're just outside of that increase.
Yeah, but we didn't try hard enough to convince Millbury. Yeah, my involvement with that was on the Citizens Advisory Committee for the environmental impact review of that project. So that's how I know what I know about it.
I wonder if they regret that decision now.
I don't know. And I don't remember off the top of my head what the proposed location was in Millbury, but yeah, I think the location may have been a bit awkward. Westboro ended up on Smith Parkway. They were originally proposing the other side of Westboro, but that was a difficult location to work with.
Will some sidewalks be put in where the residential, so people could walk to the transit?
Yeah, no, there is a path that's being designed now by VHB with CPA funds. But beyond Discovery Drive, that's really, that'll happen when that development happens, where the 30 and the stars on that Science Park one. But to get to the right of Discovery Drive for sidewalks, there's no immediate plans for that. But can I just go back to, are you saying that the parking is cheaper in Westboro than it is here, or the
No, cheaper
fare
here.
for the train?
It's cheaper here.
To park or to take the train?
I believe it's to park.
It's more expensive to take the train from Grafton than it is to take it from Westboro because it's a zone change, but the parking is slightly cheaper in Grafton.
Yeah, and people that do it every day and buy the pass.
But they're
it
paying more
works out.
for the pass, though.
But it works out to
Yeah.
be, I mean, I'm not talking about the days when like everybody was trying to go for the Red Sox parade and they were all parking out on Route 30 there. I'm just talking like a regular morning.
Yeah, I mean, they're at 90% capacity. Every day I anecdotally go by there, it's 90% full.
Yeah,
And especially with snowbanks,
but
it's
you'd be
worse.
surprised how many of those people are not
Yeah.
Grafton. They're not people who are coming from Millbury and parking. They're people who are coming the opposite way to park
Interesting.
here because it's cheaper. And they do it every day.
Oh, yeah, if you drive by that area, that's all you see is all the cars
Yeah,
going like crazy,
yeah, they should go the
because they
opposite
cut
way.
off first.
But, yeah,
Well, we do have a plan to survey the people who park there to find out where they're coming from.
that's good.
So the EDC and Joe and John Allen are working on a survey, 5, 6 questions, because obviously, if we're gonna build, a village, we wanna know what people want, so I wanna know where those people go before they come and park
Yeah.
there, so I can get those same amenities, or at least pitch that to people. But we are asking where they're coming from, because I've always been interested to know if they're Grafton folks, or
Yeah.
if they're Westboro folks, or who.
Well, and I
they
wanna
are.
know what happens when they can't park. Like, I know for my husband, he goes in a couple times a month, he'll end up driving to Ashland. Like, he'll come and he'll drive in, drive around, there's no parking, he'll have to leave, and he won't make the train in Westboro, so he has to leap ahead and he drives to Ashland, and there's never a problem parking there, of course. But, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, it's definitely overcrowded.
Well, they have lots on both sides of the
Right.
tracks, that's
Yeah.
why. They have a lot of parking.
And it's ugly, but it works.
Yeah, we need to get more people on the train. That is for sure.
That's the downside of rail transit is.
Yeah.
There was a time when a lot of people lived within walking distance of the train, but that's not true these days. Hasn't been true for a long time.
But we're hoping to get people to live closer to the train.
Yes, that would be good. And it
You
doesn't,
need the
it doesn't
sidewalks.
help,
Yes,
it
yeah.
doesn't help the rest of us, but what these potential developments do is give people a place to live that's likely to be relatively affordable and convenient to take the rail into Boston without having to first get in the car and then.
Yeah, I'll go to Worcester, or come from Worcester and come to work on the train.
That's the idea behind the transit-oriented developments that we're pursuing here.
My fingers are crossed. But everything's in place. I mean, the first time, everything is ready to go.
It's easy to conceive of these things and come up with the ideas, but to get someone then to invest the money to make it happen, that's kind of out of our hands.
Yeah.
We do what we can to facilitate it.
Yeah, we stand at the ready. I mean, the grant for the MassWorks grant for the sewer line, the inconvenience that you have for that 17K volt system for the electricity vaulted going all the way up Route 30, those things are happening because these areas will be developed, because they're really the only pieces that are left. Relatively virgin land in North Grafton, close to 9 and close to 20. And our biggest investment now is the 100 acres for this parcel here for UPS facility, so that's, I don't know, what's that, 4,000 people when it's said and done, built? Yeah. So that'll be a big deal once it's done.
Chief, do we have any like patrols that go through that parking lot relatively often to check, say, double parking ticket those people, or do anything like that?
They
for-
go through there, but the MBTA has an officer that's assigned, it's
Okay.
actually a K-9 officer, he goes through there every morning. The day of the, was it the Red Sox, we had an officer assigned just to the lot because we were requested by the chief, MBTA,
Yep.
when they had those situations, and I think we ended up towing and tagging quite a few cars. Not so much, we gave as much leeway as possible, but people were parking so that other cars, like the ones facing out that were, out from the tracks, would not have been able to get out the way they were parked. So we had to move. We told people, as a matter of fact, we were there, we had a few cars there, we had a tow truck there. People were still trying to park in areas that they weren't supposed to be parking. So we told them, they got out of their car and walked, and I guess they felt it's cheaper to park there, have your car tagged or whatever, and rather than try to find something in Boston. And they quickly learned,
Go to Ashland.
No, actually, we patrol more for any type of vandalism or, car breaks, car theft and all that.
Yep.
As a courtesy, and move out of that. And I usually go through every morning. I just like to see what capacity it's at. And, certain days it's a lot busier than others. But the MBTA does have an officer, I guess he goes all the way up to Leominster or whatever. And he also does this, happens to be a K-9 officer. And I see them, but they also have the oldest that comes up with tags, also, they usually do the tagging.
Okay.
That's more for the people that don't pay for their spots,
Yeah,
so.
I think,
I don't know, does the MBTA do any kind of regular or semi-regular, like checks, license plate checks, just to see where the people that are using the community rail are coming from?
Not that, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think the MBTA, we couldn't run the plates just for that, that's an improper use of registry information.
Yeah, I think I'm vaguely remembering that when they were doing the planning for that line extension, they may have done some license plate surveys in various places, but that, I didn't know if that was regularly done or.
Yeah, we definitely don't do it, I don't know what the MBTA does, like I said, you can't run a plate just for the sake of finding out where they're coming from, unless you suspect some kind of.
That's why we have to survey them. We have to physically
Yeah,
go survey.
I think I've heard of that being done, but maybe not recently, and probably not regularly.
Yeah,
And they'd have to have special permission probably to do that.
yeah, like I said, we definitely don't do that, we didn't do that.
No.
Anything else on anybody's mind? You all gonna come to town meeting?
I'll consider coming to town.
I'm working, I'll be there.
I do have one procedural question on the budget that I haven't asked before. I know, looking at the budget, you see the actual numbers after, after June's, when the new budget gets proposed and that, but like, at what point do you do any evaluation of, let's say, in this line item you were, $10,000 off, which is, 10% or 1%, whatever the actual budget item is, does that factor into your budgeting, going forward? And, at what point do the town people, two-part question, at what point do the town people have access to what the actual numbers are at the end of the fiscal year?
On the website, there's a thing called virtual budget?
Visual budget?
Visual budget. So that has the actuals when the fiscal year closes. If any line is in a deficit when we start a budget process, or we can anticipate it, we'll make that a budget adjustment at that time for the following fiscal year. So we always try to anticipate that. Like snow and ice though, for example, until it's over, we don't know, so we'll move money in. Hopefully from this year, because the assessors, will allow us to use overlay that they won't use for any other purpose, we'll be able to use that for snow and ice for this year. But, you know, if the chief is overspent in a line by 10 grand, you know, we're gonna forecast that and budget for it for the ensuing fiscal year.
So we always talk about, like, one of the greatest challenges of having a town meeting form of government is that you are forced to basically take 12 months of expenses and figure out a way to manage it in 10 months, because town meeting is in May, and that's our opportunity to make any adjustments that we need to make. So, you know, usually by May, we have a pretty good handle on, you know, what has been happening for the last 10 months, so we can tell what's gonna happen for, you know, May and June. If something, you know, way out of left field happened after town meeting, there are a few options, right? There's the finance committee reserve, so we can go to finance committee and make a request to shore up an account. They have a $75,000 budget every year for that, and there's a process associated with that. And then, you know, if we've already set the budget for the following year and something crazy happens, and it might happen again the next year, then we have October town meeting, which is where we sort of look at the budget that was passed in May and say, did we misread something? Is there something we need to change? And then we have the opportunity to change it in October. So it's challenging because it's the 10-month window, but it's 12 months of expenses, but there are options for us.
And we don't know what, you know, we think we're gonna get $12 million from the state for state aid, but we don't know that until July, and you had a town meeting in May, so when October comes, we might have to make adjustments, because
Right.
those revenue numbers might not be what we had budgeted. So far, they're holding, and, you know, the state rep is doing a good job, so we hope they stay.
That's one of your challenges in budgeting. The legislature is never on time with their budget.
Well,
Almost.
now that we know that they're never on time, we don't anticipate them being on time, so they're on time for us. We just put our best guess.
I want to say I can vaguely remember that's at least on the rare occasions in the last 20 to 25 years, the legislature actually has completed their budget work before the end of the fiscal year, but that's rare. And I don't know what the latest is. Sometimes they don't get it done until August, September, October.
No, they'll do July. He's been great about January 19th of getting it to the legislature. The House takes it up. The House just passed today. Wow, they're supposed to vote today. I don't think they passed it. It was 64 billion or some number. I talked to David yesterday because there were amendments for us that were favorable for public safety. The chief doesn't know about it yet, so I won't tell him. So it'll go on to the Senate, and they'll move through it for May 10th and vote on it. So he could sign, he could veto, but I would say before June 30.
Yeah, if we can get it before June 30th, that's the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I think at least once they've.
Oh, they've been back.
Till
If
August.
they can't, if they screwed up revenue forecasting for any of the months, there's been times that they pushed it back. All right, well, I'm glad everybody came out. The Bruins are ahead. No, I have no idea.
I was gonna say, how did you know that?
You have my phone?
Checking the graphics.
Well, no, my phone is next to me charging. When I sleep, he comes in, he takes it off the cradle and sticks it in my face when I'm sleeping, and opens my phone
Are
up.
you serious?
Yeah, so now I gotta do the dual authentication.
We are winning.
1-0, who knew?
Thanks, Tim. Thank you very much.